And what do you think? One interesting chart, I really want to get into crypto, but one interesting chart we're looking at right now is the IWM, the Russell 2000 versus the S&P 500. And we actually think the Russell's going to start moving against the S&P 500, which could be in line with what Bitcoin dominance is perhaps doing, and a variety of other signals we're seeing with ETH and things like that. What's your take on that quickly before we start to get into crypto?
Yeah, well, I think there will be a rotation. I think this rotation is going to be a bit different though, because I mean, everybody says this time is
Of
different, but
course.
literally this time is different
Yeah.
because of the ETFs and the volume there. I mean, Bitcoin was at an all-time high before the halving, which has never happened in a previous cycle.
Yeah.
And that was because of the advent and volume and liquidity brought in from the ETFs. So I think that, between now and the end of the year, you can get other ETFs on a few other digital assets that will launch. The SEC has put out that, you need futures markets in place at least 6 months before they're going to be able to approve these ETFs. But I think that's where the actual rotation of that liquidity is going to take place in this market versus in the past, the majority of the liquidity was on exchanges and in Tether. Whereas this time, when somebody sells their position in an ETF, that liquidity is not going to rotate to anything else that's not in that market. It's going to have to go to stocks or bonds or something else that's on the TradFi side. So, if there is a large pull down in Bitcoin and there is some rotation out of those ETFs, we haven't seen a huge pullback in Bitcoin this cycle either. The volume on the ETFs has kept it to somewhere, between 20 and 30% as a max pull down. Most of the time in previous cycles, we've seen 40 and 50% drawbacks in the bull market for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I think if we saw something a bit more drastic in a drawdown for Bitcoin, especially if it was, compounded with global catalysts that are going on, I think that would be the advent for the rotation out of those ETFs into whatever else is available.